Hi everybody, this is my speech, and over here is my captive audience. Okay, so anybody that's been walking around through the stores lately has seen that we've already gone a couple days to Halloween, and we've already got Christmas decorations running rampant through all of the stores. And being a part of the fire department, I felt it be important to discuss some of the hazards associated with decorations as we're preparing to decorate for the season. And I know everybody here's looking forward to getting out the Christmas tree, getting decorations ready, and really getting in kind of the holiday spirit. So in kind of looking at some of the decorations out there, the biggest decoration is going to be the Christmas tree. And you really kind of have two options there. One's going to be your live tree and one's going to be your artificial tree. And so when we look at it, the real tree has a lot of fire hazard potential in it because of the high fuel load that it has. And when I say that, is that when a Christmas tree dries out, there's a lot of material that catches on fire and burns very rapidly and very intensely. And so the National Fire Protection Association showed that when it comes to Christmas tree fires, 1 in 31 fires have a fatality associated with them, which is a lot higher than a traditional house fire where 1 in 44 fires have a fatality. And they also showed that Christmas trees were the first thing to ignite in over 200 fires. So in looking at this, you might think, well, let's just skip the real tree and go with an artificial tree. But artificial trees carry their own problems as well. According to the RTK Environmental Group, most of our artificial Christmas trees these days are made in China, which presents a problem because they're usually made of PVC plastic as well as lead. And this becomes a problem because as these trees age, they start to break down, and the lead comes out of the trees in the form of lead dust. And this lead dust spreads around everywhere very rapidly, all over the presence, all over the house. And then with kids, it becomes a problem with lead poisoning. And then another problem with these trees is that they don't break down, so that creates kind of an environmental hazard as they all get disposed of into our landfills. So besides Christmas trees, we have other decorations that we use a lot during the season. And so excluding Christmas trees, our other decorations that we use compose in excess of 800 fires a year when it comes to these decorations. And of these, candles are listed as being the main ignition source in our fires. The National Fire Protection Agency also lists that candles were going to be the instigating factor in at least 38% of these fires. Some of the other problems that we run into decorations is as they age, the wires start to fray, and so this creates another fire risk as well as an electrical shock risk for everybody. And then the other problem is a lot of decorations are not fire resistant, and so that creates another potential fuel for fires to spread very rapidly. So in looking at this, we might think, let's just not decorate. Well, that's clearly not the point. The point is to be safe while we're choosing our decorations and utilizing them. And so let's look at some of the preventing things that we can do when we're looking at our decorations. And so to start with, when we look at our Christmas trees, when we're choosing our real Christmas tree, we need to go out and be checking it and feeling of it to make sure it's not already dry. We're going and making sure that the needles aren't already falling off, that when we're feeling of the needles, they're not already brittle and snapping. And then while we have that tree, we need to make sure that we're not, that we're watering that tree every day so it's not drying out. And then we also need to make sure that we're placing that tree not near a heat source. It needs to be at least 3 feet away from any heat source. For our artificial trees, we need to look at them and try to make sure that we're buying a tree that's made in the U.S. and that we're looking at the warning labels on those trees and looking for some that are fire resistant, because while they are not like a real tree, they do present a fire risk as well. The American Association of Pediatrics also has some information out there on safety tips when it comes to our decorations that we use. They recommend when we're using our candles not to be using them near fire flammable materials, and that we're checking our electrical devices every year to make sure that they don't have frayed cords that could potentially be a shock or a fire hazard. And then when we're looking at it, we're trying to make sure that our older decorations, particularly some of our heirloom decorations that could contain lead, that we're testing those for lead, and we're placing those items, out of reach of small children to try to eliminate some of that risk of lead poisoning in kids. And so as I've gone through some of this, I hope the information has been, helpful in showing some insight into some of the hazards, that are associated with our decorations, and that, as we're looking at, what our choices are as far as decorations go, we're being mindful of this, and, being careful as we're using our decorations throughout the holiday season. Because, we don't want to spoil the season with a house fire, because it is, statistically a very real possibility for many houses. So, in conclusion, decorations are a wonderful part of the season, but we just need to be responsible with our use of them. And that's it. Thank you.